welcome tonight's candidate form for the Franklin County Presiding Commissioner race. This form is being broadcast live on our branch's social media page, or Facebook page. We'll also be placing a recording hopefully tomorrow afternoon on our YouTube channel. So if you know of anyone who missed this tonight, they can watch it on the YouTube channel between tomorrow and the election. All our recording is being done by Sarah O'Daniel, our marketing person. And I'm hoping the Missourian is here, but if not, they'll watch the recording, I think, and report on the form that way. Our candidates tonight are Commissioner Dave Schatz, our incumbent, who's running, of course, as a Republican, Sean Knoll, who's a Republican challenger also, we got him right here, Ed Hillhouse, who is a Republican challenger, and Thomas Crouch, who is a Libertarian candidate. We did invite Rochelle Landa, who is the Democratic candidate, but she was unable to attend due to a prior work commitment. So we tried to get everyone we could here. Our moderators are Megan Maurer, who's the library's assistant director, wave there, and Tiffany Richards, who is our adult programming coordinator. She's also our sound engineer, so if you have any adjustments today, try to be jumping up to go over to adjust the sound during this event. Our form tonight will be 60 minutes long, approximately. Each candidate will be given 1 minute of opening remarks, and then another minute at the end for closing remarks. Our list of questions were submitted by the public. We will not we will not be able to ask all the questions that were submitted. We're going to get through as many as we can. It's going to depend a lot on the amount of time each candidate takes. We did try to get rid of like the duplicate questions. We kind of edited them for grammar and things like that, but we tried to get a wide range of topics, so hopefully everybody's happy with the questions we're able to ask tonight. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. There will be no rebuttals, and a candidate can ask to have the question repeated, of course, if they need to. We're going to start with Commissioner Schatz with the first question, and then with the second question, we'll start with Sean Knoll, and so on. We're just kind of rotate around so a different person gets to answer first each time. The moderator among Tiffany and Megan, who is not asking the questions, will serve as the timekeeper. The timekeeper shows a yellow card, I'm going to show them that, for 30 seconds remaining to speak, and then a red card when your time is up. So we ask that everybody respects the time limits so we can get through as many questions as possible. I ask everyone here to silence their phones. I ask it every time, and there's always phones going off, so please really silence your phones and devices. Also, please hold your applause until the end. We were at a candidate forum like this last night in Owensville, and people applauded after every question, and it was a lot, let's just say. So please wait to applaud at the end. Also, please no talking during the forum. Anyone who causes disruption will be asked to leave, so we just ask everybody to be respectful of the candidates and the forum tonight. So thank you very much. Candidates, good luck, and we'll get started.
All right, Mr. Schatz, we'll start with you. You have 1 minute for your opening remarks.
Thank you. Appreciate you putting this together here for the folks this evening. Obviously, this is important for folks to get to know what the candidates are about. Lifelong resident of Franklin County. I'll be as brief as I can. I know we got a short time. I've been married 38 years, have 5 children, 12 grandchildren, 13's on the way. All live here in Franklin County. Franklin County is my home, has been my home. Lived here over 60 plus years. I'm a business owner, lifelong in business with my family. I run a couple of businesses. One is an association management company in St. Louis, and then the underground business here in Villa Ridge as well. So, long time employer. That's what I've done. Obviously, been in politics for a number of years and served 8 years in the Senate, 4 years in the House, 4 years President Pro Tem, and then my opportunity here to serve as County Commissioner.
Mr. Knoll, you have 1 minute.
Good evening, my name is Sean Noel. Thank you all for your time this evening. Come out and hear us out and ask your questions. So to start off, I have an extensive background, about 15 years now in operational type experience. So that started with operations in the military. I'm a combat veteran, served some time in the Army, pulling together teams in very intense situations in combat zone. That's very important to take that same intensity to this seat, because everyone's lives do matter with the decisions that their elected officials make. I also have over 10 years of project management experience spanning over hundreds of millions of dollars in government type acquisitions. So I know what it means to look at the numbers and make educated decisions. In that field, I've also had a heavy emphasis in putting together interdisciplinary teams to come together and work toward a common goal and a mission. And that is what government is about. It's all of y'all's mission, taking those different disciplines in government and coming together to serve all of you.
Mr. Hillhouse, you have 1 minute.
Hi, I'm Ed Hillhouse. I know most of you out there. Background, been married 48 years, going on 49. I am formerly superintendent of schools in Merrimack Valley, R3 school district. I served in that capacity for about 17 plus years. I went back after Randy George, who was superintendent of schools, passed away. I went back and served another couple of years for the district until I could find a superintendent. I then went on to be your presiding commissioner for 2 terms. I've been elected in this position for almost 8 years, and I know what it takes to run a county government. From there, I became executive director of East-West Gateway Council of Governments, and I appreciate the time that you all have given us to introduce ourselves, and look forward to the questions.
Mr. Crouch, you have 1 minute.
Hey, first of all, thank everyone for showing up this evening. My name is Thomas Crouch. I am, of course, a lifelong resident from here in Franklin County. I have done business management, operations management, worked in highly regulated sectors with the state, worked in highly regulated sectors with the federal government. I currently run an electrician company, work with several other companies in this area, plus Warren County, plus St. Louis County, St. Charles, just all over the place. I have zero political experience. Unfortunately, I'm too honest to call myself a career politician. So, for there, I believe in common sense solutions, unified common sense solutions, that everyone has a little bit of input that can bring something productive to the table. So this is not something I'm here to do for personal glory, fame, recognition. Me personally, I'd rather stick far away from this stuff as much as possible. If elected, I'm probably going to be the only candidate up here willing to step aside and stop everything to run this county, to run it effectively.
As Steve indicated, we will be rotating the questions between the candidates, and in line with how we laid out the introductions, our first question will go to you, Mr. Noel. Am I pronouncing your last name correct? Noel, thank you. Mr. Noel. Franklin County was not awarded the EPA grant it sought to address the abandoned St. Clair landfill. What should the county do next to address the environmental concerns and protect nearby residents and waterways? You have 2 minutes.
So one thing that I've tried to push the commission into looking into is the CERCLA grant. I did some research on that, and that specifically calls out situations where no responsible party is even found for a certain project. And so I think that's something that's really important for us to look into. When the back brief was given, or exit meeting, if you will, for Wiley Wassey Brownsfield grant, I pushed the commission to look into that at that meeting. Apparently the EPA doesn't want to discuss other opportunities and departments in that meeting. I find that odd. I believe what was said at that meeting, I just find it odd the EPA would do that. So that's primarily what I would push for now. I am also a huge advocate in looking at new avenues in terms of legislation. What can our state government put together in a bill to help rectify this problem? And once that problem is rectified, what do we do with that property? Can we get a preservation status, which gives essentially a permanent protection for the neighboring areas of that piece of property, so they don't have to worry about what's next, who buys it and does what with it, right? Because what's happening now is unacceptable. I'd love to see the county take some kind of involvement and responsibility and looking into that CERCLA grant and getting this taken care of. We can do a cost sharing It could be federally funded to fix this problem, or state and federally funded. It doesn't have to just be Franklin County taxpayers footing the bill for this. I've been there myself. I know Thomas, I'll give some kudos to him. He and I both went there with Mr. Roberts to look at the property, do our own records of photos and videos and things like that. We've talked to Mr. Roberts via email quite frequently to get his input. I've had third party look into the water samples, and we found some gaps in what the DNR was looking for that potentially could be hazardous to Mr. Roberts' drinking water. And we need to push forward and find a way that's affordable to get that type of water quality test that's truly needed, so that we can make sure we're not poisoning Mr. Roberts and the surrounding areas.
Mr. Hillhouse, the floor is yours.
I commend the commission for going after the grant, but the grant was not granted. Therefore, the thing that I would say, if I were there, it wouldn't take me 2 years to approach the problem. I know that they're looking at alternatives, but with one person on the commission that has 40 years experience as an engineer, with presiding commissioner in the work that he does with cable and digging and everything else, I believe they know what needs to be done. I believe it needs to be fixed. It needs to be approached, and I think that we should step up to the plate and take care of the problem, since the county owns the property.
Mr. Crouch, you have the floor.
Well, like Sean said, we've both been out there, kind of overlooked the property. I mean, Mr. Schatz was out there as well. I think very first step is we need to get some leachate tanks hooked back up. That way it ain't flooding into that creek, because that creek is essentially going into the Merrimack. Now that is affecting everyone downstream from Merrimack. That's Pacific, that's St. Louis County, that's Jefferson County. Honestly, EPA and DNR need to step up, do their jobs. Yes, us as a county need to accept a little bit of responsibility for that, but the mainstay is the gentleman who is ultimately responsible for this is sitting down in the Bahamas enjoying Mai Tais while our county is suffering, while our citizens are being poisoned. That's completely unacceptable. So whether it's talking to the State Department, U.S. Marshal Service, something like that, charges need to come about, to be brought on and all that. Extradition's not a thing where he's located at. We'll leave it at that. Definitely we need to chase grants if possible, make sure that there ain't any backflows, all those grants. It's gonna hurt us in the long run, but first things first, we need to get leachate tanks hooked back up, get them doing what they're supposed to be doing. That will alleviate a lot of pressure out there.
Mr. Schatz, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, I want to give some credit to Senator Brown. When we started down this process, obviously I had visited the property with Mr. Roberts, and again, Thomas was out there. We did apply. We were, through Senator Brown's assistance in the University of Missouri, we were able to get some guidance from one of the experts in there, one of the professors of the college, and led us to the fact where we could apply for this brownfield grant. We engaged with East West Gateway to apply for this grant funding, wrote the grant, worked with some of the staff here in the county in order to apply. As was said, we did have a exit interview here just this past, maybe a week and a half ago, to find out, where we were deficient, where we did well, and we learned a lot from that process. We learned the fact that there was over 220 projects that had been applied for funding. There was only 71 that were chosen. We scored 128 points out of 155 eligible points. The projects that were chosen, ultimately, they were between 153 and 155. So we have a long way to go. But what we found out in that instance, this was repurposing the property was probably one of the priorities that left us behind. We did not have a repurposed plan. There's some economic issues they're out of control, that obviously we didn't score well along, or other areas that were more economic depressed didn't score well. I did get an email from that professor today or yesterday, and she basically said she was encouraged, but we should go back, we should apply for that grant funding again, because the second round, there are some other brownfield opportunities out there that we need to explore. And also, we need to continue to push the pedal on some of the legislation that was filed by Senator Brown to make sure that there's a funding mechanism from the state level to help clean up the 30-plus landfill sites that are not just in Franklin County, but across the state. And so I think that is the pros, again, we gotta open every door that we can, kick down every opportunity to try to find funding to address this.
Thank you. This question will start with Mr. Hillhouse. Some residents have expressed interest in Franklin County becoming a charter county, which could increase the number of commissioners, create additional county officers such as county executive, and provide a broader local authority. What is your position on charter county status, and what would you see as the biggest advantage or disadvantage?
I think the advantage, I think the advantage of charter government, which I brought up, gives people the opportunity to vote on issues. When you talk about charter government, there are some misconceptions out there, and there are some, I think, purposely given out there, and then people repeat them, take them as gospel. I advocate charter government only to do away with the commissions. I do not advocate doing away with the elected officials, and often I'm told, well, if you have charter government, I'm afraid of it because it's like St. Louis County. You write your own. The people vote on it. You look at it. But the other misconception that I'm often told is we want to keep our elected sheriff and we will lose that. Folks, the different things that you're hearing about, you all have one of these, a phone. You can simply check into it and ask, under charter government, can you continue to keep your elected sheriff as it is? Can you continue to keep the elected officials as is? And the answer is yes. So there are misconceptions out there. It's hard to understand, but I think the time has come that we no longer need just two people making the decision on everything related to government. There's not one other governmental entity that has just two people making a decision in Franklin County, whether it's school boards, whether it's city. There are 7 people that vote, and it does not have to cost more if you do away with just the 3-member commission.
Mr. Crouch, you have the floor.
I'm libertarian. Bigger government is not always a good thing. I would definitely like to see us try engaging in some town halls with people first before we want to talk about expanding our current government. I mean, we're already kind of finding it hard enough to find funding for this and funding for that. We go with the charter government, we're going to be throwing another $200K a year on top of our executive team. And I mean, there are some advantages to it. Yes, people do get more direct control or more direct representation, but at the end of the day, direct representation is always the best thing. And it'll take a few years to get it swapped over anyway. I'm not saying that we can't get a charter and all that stuff and the paperwork all lined up so that when we're ready to pull that trigger, we can pull it. But until then, we definitely need to keep a role of government as small as possible.
Mr. Schatz, the floor is yours.
I'm opposed to going to a charter form of government. Obviously, I think it's been tried here before, failed. I don't see the necessary expanding it to what do you call commissioners or aldermen or however you want to do that. I work pretty closely with the St. Louis County, St. Charles County, and Jefferson County executives. I know how their process plays out, how difficult it is. Again, I think that Thomas alluded to the fact that just because you have a broader representation doesn't make you get better results. Then I think you have to elect good leadership, ultimately make decisions. I think the county has been functioning this way for a number of years. And again, other than the fact that we have a very controversial subject that we've talked about, that people are concerned about the commission making a decision based upon a small number of people. And again, because they would like to have things go the way that they would want it to go, and they think with more representation, they'd be more successful. So I don't think there's any advantage by having a charter form of government. Again, I think that, and I haven't explored the idea of whether you could still keep all the elected positions that you want, but I think the way it's been working, I think the citizens of Franklin County are happy with the way it is.
Mr. Reynolds, floor is yours.
I always like to pose a question when this one comes up. Raise your hand if you can think of one time where a government has expanded itself, saved you money, and represented you better. One. That's how I look at charter government. No. Mr. Hillhouse is correct. You don't have to lose your elected sheriff. But here's the thing. A lot of people, and I don't want to mudsling or point fingers, but a lot of people are upset about an appointed official in our government. Well, you are given a panel of people to write your charter in this situation. You know, it's appointed by the judges. How many people feel comfortable with that? One. That's a problem, right? I can't think of one condition that this would save us money, represent us better, as Mr. Schatz, Mr. Crouch has said. It actually gives a lot of authority to one person, that's your county executive. So to say that it's going to spread out power and make for a less powerful government is dangerous. That individual is given veto power. Yes, you can combat that at the council level. But one person can go against what the majority of that council says. You're not fixing the problems that you're seeing right now. I know there's a amping up of wanting this charter government because of what's going on and the emotions being felt with the data center. But we have to be careful what we ask for here. Because a large sample of people here are saying it doesn't save us money, doesn't represent us better. It failed about 9,000 votes against, 4,000 for it the last time it was on ballot. I'm not naive enough to think that margin has gotten slightly smaller since then, but I would be pretty sure it would fail again because I've only talked to about 6 people that said they want charter government. Over the last 3 or 4 years, I've talked to people about this and the majority of them say no. I am adamantly against charter government. We don't want same page running our county.
Mr. Crouch, this question will come to you first. If Franklin County receives proposals for new hyperscale data centers in the future, do you support their development? Why or why not? And what factors would influence your decision?
Honestly, I don't support any more development for AI hyperscales. I mean, right now, the whole entire energy grid nationwide is just a mess. We don't have the capacity to power these things. If we do find that capacity, we're going to be coming across some pretty big grid shortfalls. That in turn is going to cause blackouts. If anyone who here has lived through a blackout for an extended period of time, who here is comfortable with their loved ones, specifically your older folks and your most vulnerable, being stuck here in temperatures like this without power. Anyone here comfortable with that? No. You'll be comfortable with the same people stuck there in the dead cold of winter with no heat. I wouldn't be. It brings about a pretty big health safety risk for our most vulnerable, and that's 31% of Franklin County citizens there. That and then the whole entire idea behind it is just totally decimated everyone's faith and trust in our current government. Like, I mean, this is a big company, this is a big tech company. They're not here for our good feeling. They're here to make a buck off of our pity, off of our pain. So that's a definite no.
Mr. Schatz, the question to you.
I don't know if this is, it says if we receive new proposals for hyperscale data centers or if we're dealing with the ones that we currently have before the commission right now or that's in the county that's being proposed. Obviously, we're still in the process of determining through information that we're gathering as to whether or not we are going to allow them here to begin this in the first place. We engaged, obviously, to the dislike of a lot of people today to try to figure what the financial impact of data centers to this county is. I think that's very important information for us to know. What does that bring economically to all the taxing districts within the county, the school districts, fire district, ambulance districts, the county itself. All of those are gonna be impacted if there is a data center that is brought into this county. So I think whether I support that development, again, we still have to have information. If we get through to the facts, and the reality is that this is part of the global economy that's driving the economy in the United States right now. The investments being made into AI and hyperscale data centers is driving the United States economy, whether we like it or not. That's where the future is and where we're going. If we ignore that and we walk away from that, are we going to just allow them to be into the next county over? They're going to be built. They're going to be built, and regardless of that, we're going to have to make a decision whether it's right for Franklin County or not. So again, I have not come to the conclusion whether we will have them or not, but we're still working our way through that. So that will ultimately, that decision will be made soon.
Mr. Noel, the floor is yours.
No.
Thank you. Thank you.
Listen, back when I think it was like February, January when this first announced, and really got hot and heavy, and we started having these meetings, first words out of my mouth were, don't trust that the tax revenue will be there. I didn't have to spend $50,000 to figure that one out, but, plus all the extras. And to me, it's just, it's situation after situation of robbing people of their rural life. It is spot zoning. I believe our master plan says we shouldn't be doing that, but that wasn't updated since what, 2012 or 2014, I think we found out. And what's interesting about that is, based on my research, when you open this master plan up, it has to go to public testimony. And the public has to give their input on this and where and how we grow our county. I would like to see that come back to life so that everyone has an input. And now's the time to do it, in my opinion, when we're trying to decide how much or how little we're going to regulate these individuals coming in here. They are nosediving into these areas because regulations don't exist. And from a business standpoint, sure, it makes sense. I want to help control the regulation. But why should we have to force the people to open Pandora's box before we even know who's going to be in the dang building? We don't know what kind of tax revenue we're going to get. So we're having to have all of you agree to a ghost and then see what happens. I don't see that as fair. No. To me, it's too easy. 11 people have told me, yes, they want this. Yes, I actually keep notes of how many people say what. Thousands of people I have witnessed with my own eyes say no.
Mr. Millhouse?
I can sum it up also in one word, no. The answer is no. I will also go so far as to say I'm not convinced that the commission has not made up their mind. There's been too much on again, off again, on again. Yes, we're going to be able to testify. We're going to close the session. No, we're going to, thank you. No, we're now going to let you talk for 3 minutes. And I've sat through 13 hours of testimony. I think that was ill-planned. Every step of the way, it seems like let's stall until after Tuesday. After Tuesday, then we can make a decision. And I think you're going to see some things come out, and it's going to happen. And there's little we can do about it, which refers me back to the charter government, which the charter government, I'm not willing to die on that hill for charter government, but charter government does give the people the right to vote, as opposed to the commission form where the citizens cannot vote. You can write that in. Along with something like this, I was really surprised today to see that at times I've been shot at, criticized that I spent too much money when I was presiding commissioner and were stressed. Evidently, we're not very stressed financially because we can come up with $50,000 overnight just simply to study how much money we may get. And it happens to be from a company that has always found the answer to be, go with it.
Hello, it's working. Just a reminder, please hold your applause until the end. I know everyone's very enthusiastic about some of the issues. Please don't boo me. I just ask that you keep your comments and your applause till the end. Thank you very much.
All right, so this question will go to you, Mr. Schatz. Do you support offering tax abatements or other financial incentives to attract hyperscale data centers to Franklin County? Why or why not?
No, I don't think we're in a position where we have to engage in that. I think there's probably, if we get to a situation where a data center is being proposed in here, I think there will be asked for that, but I don't think we're in a position where we have to offer that. We toured some of these data centers where Altoona, Pennsylvania, where they were one of the first places where Meta located, but they did everything they could to attract them. So they offered all kinds of incentives and things of that nature, but in this environment, that's not the case. And I don't think counties, I think in some of the other instances, other counties around have offered incentives and done those types of things. We're not in that position where we have to do that. And so obviously, as I said, we're going to spend enough resources to understand what are the tax implications, the potential tax implications for each of the taxing entities in this county, and understand what that truly is before we ever consider any kind of tax abatement or Chapter 100 bonds. So.
Mr. Miller, the floor is yours.
So, no, again. What we know is the state allows these data centers to sign up for a very low barrier to entry tax abatement process, right? They don't have to pay sales and use tax at a local level. That's problem number one. If designated special opportunity zones, now they got federal tax breaks on top of that, right? Property tax abatements as high as 90+%. Does that make sense either? I don't know where the money's gonna come from. You know what would be cool though, is if we could give tax incentives to small business. Why are we giving the big cats all the benefits when it's the small fish in the pond that deserve a fighting chance? That's where I say, if you're gonna give an abatement or give some kind of tax incentive, look at the small business owners.
Mr. Miller, the floor is yours.
The answer is no also. And let's hold on just a minute. Presiding Commissioner Schatz, now in 2015, did you not vote as senator to abate data centers, sales, and usury tax? Did you not vote
Is
yes?
this a debate, Ed? Are we having a debate?
I thought this was the debate.
I don't know, I'm just asking, this is a candidate back and forth. I don't think that's the format.
Please, we're not going to engage in that. We're answering, each county's going to answer a question. There's no rebuttal. There's no engagement between the counties. We're trying to keep this civil, please. Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
let's get some money on it first, and we can get something to clean up that landfill.
Yes or no?
I also continue to say no because as superintendent of schools, I saw a major company come to Pacific and they wanted to invoke Chapter 100, and they did. Instead of 23 years, we had to fight the battle. They came down to abating their taxes 10 years. They couldn't abate the equipment in the building, in the industrial park. But I asked for a list so we would know, running the school district, how are you going to depreciate things? Well, they gave me a list. They depreciated most of it the first year. They didn't follow the list at all. So it puts you in precarious situations. When you start granting abatements, what does it bring you? If it brings good jobs, good paying jobs, and it is something that is safe and good for our community and a good fit, there can be some incentives, yes, I can see that. But overall, it's abused, it's been abused, and every time taxes are abated, we are the ones that pick up the extra tab.
Oh, I'm strong though on that. I mean, honestly, let's take care of our own first. We don't need to be giving trillion-dollar companies additional pennies so that, you know, they can go purchase a yacht and have it built in the Netherlands and that off the backs of Americans. No, absolutely not. I'd rather see our incentives, man, like Sean said, go to our small businesses. I would rather see senior tax freezes get expanded for seniors, you know, people who've spent their entire life paying triple times fold of what their property's worth for the county. Let's work on that first.
Okay, Mr. Noel, this question will be to you. Franklin County's Proposition P, a half-cent sales tax funds local law enforcement and the adult detention center. The funding for local law enforcement for officer salaries is based on numbers of officers in each community had in 2018. Do you believe the commission should change the current funding structure to account for the changes in the number of police officers across different agencies since 2018? If so, what changes would you support, and if not, why?
So the direct answer is yes, there needs to be a change. So I spent quite a few hours on the phone with local chiefs of police, as well as their fellow officers. There's a problem in some communities where they have new police departments coming up and are struggling to get to full-time capacity because they don't get Prop P right now as written. But it's not the way Prop P was written from what I've researched. It's a commission order that was passed, I believe, by the previous commission that is putting the limit. And so I urge the commission to go the opposite direction with the new commission order to allow our new PDs to be able to staff appropriately. I don't know how many remember this, but when I served, it was during the Obama administration, and I remember going overseas with half the equipment I needed to be safe. This rings home with me. Our officers don't get to leave their war. They live in it, so do their families. They need the salaries they deserve. They need the equipment they deserve. And this could be a very easy fix for the commission if they go that route.
Mr. Hillhouse?
I agree with, as I've said at times, Mr. Noel and I, we agree on things too. We don't just disagree on certain issues. But I think the local law enforcement is woefully under budget, under balance. I think we should support that. I think we got an opportunity to utilize some funds that the people just voted. Remember, we just voted a 1/4 cent sales tax for 911. That is supposed to be the answer to 911, and we supported it, 50-some%. It turns out that it's 2.5 cents, though, that we're going to be receiving, and the state is saying that should all go to 911. The commission, I hope, is working it out to where the other 2 cents is not just accumulating in 911 and has to stay there in 911. A 1/4 cent sales tax was to generate roughly about $2 million. Now 2.5 cent sales tax is going to generate an additional $16 million. I said 2 million, $16 million. Don't cry to me that you're woefully, your budget, you can't handle it and you're stressed, Commission, because you've got $16 million coming in on top of the 911 every year. That is the best estimate based on what they proposed to us.
Mr. Crouch?
So yes, I work a lot in the security sector, and then I can tell you from firsthand experience, there's been plenty of times where I'll sit out there at the scene of the crime, call it in, get the evidence together, and I'm sitting here waiting for 5 hours for someone to come out, collect it, fill out previous report, do it all. But yes, our law enforcement needs tools, they need resources, they need motivation, better motivations. You know, I'm not talking about personal motivation, financial, you know, make it more lucrative compared to St. Louis County and that. So, then across the board, yeah, it should be split up evenly across the board, depending on how many people you have in that specific district. I mean, we can't have a funding inequity between Washington and Union and New Haven and all that, just because the sheriff's department can't cover down on all those outlying rural jurisdictions, right? So, yeah, definitely support the half-cent sales tax, keep it going, and hopefully let's use it right. Now, it would be, I will say this, it would be nice to have a prosecuting attorney that actually does their job instead of sitting back and watching the limelight. And I can tell you this from personal experience, I have put so many criminals in there. Just to have them back out an hour or two later, repeat the same thing. So, yeah, that's all, I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Shantz, the floor is yours.
Obviously, when the half-cent sales tax for law enforcement was passed, there was, again, I was not in the county commission at the time, the number of officers that were in the county and the municipalities and how they divided the money up at that point. It probably needs to be looked at again to see how that distribution is. I do believe that the county is going to have a larger share as well, because they're the increase in the number of officers that they have now. Would that ultimately take away from agencies that have been receiving funding? We would have to evaluate that and see. But I do know that we have Oak Grove Village as a new, they have a new police force there. They're not being funded, they're not drawing down funds from that. And so again, they should be getting some funding. But we're gonna have to take a look at it. How is it gonna be impacted overall? So we'll have to look at that previous commission order and then make adjustments accordingly with that. So I think that's something that should be taken. Again, things have changed, but it could end up in a larger amount of money going to the county sheriff's department because of the number of officers that they have from when they started in 2018.
This question will go to you, Mr. Ellis, first. Do you believe changes to county governance or zoning processes are needed to increase public input on decisions such as zoning amendments, spot zoning requests, land use change forms from agriculture, residential, to industrial use, and to large-scale developments? If so, what changes would you support and why?
The answer is yes on that one. First, I think we need to look at our overall land use plan. And I think it's, again, woefully outdated and needs to be looked at and reviewed. I also think that changes with planning and zoning, the only changes you can make under the law is, as we are told, is yes, you have a planning and zoning commission. They're appointed by the 3 commissioners, and I remember the night that we went and sat through a long ordeal, and they voted, and a lot of people that were opposed to the data center, for example, said that's it. And they were going out thinking that was it. No, they advocate only, they advise only, and again, there's where we run into problems. 2 people make the decision that affects anything in the county. You can change it any way you want, but 2 people out of 3 can vote. And their vote cannot be challenged unless it's illegal some way. To to the last question, I asked too, yes, we should be looking at it probably should be looking at the police, the law enforcement. Well, what have you been doing for the past 2 years? How come suddenly now we should be looking at it? Only because of the question, and only because Tuesday's coming.
Mr. Crouch?
Well, yes, the public should definitely have input on zoning changes and things like that. There's a huge difference between moving next to a pig farm and having a pig farm move next to you, to tell you the truth. We got plenty of industrial slots here that's just sitting there with for rent or for sale signs on it that can be utilized up instead of rezoning already agricultural areas for industrial purposes. I mean, I hate to say it, I think in the next 20, 30 years, food, water, resources like that's gonna be the new oil. You know, people get along without driving a car. I don't know if y'all even wanna know how they act whenever they got empty bellies. So, yes, we need to have a better system in place, a time frame for public input, proper public input. You know, not telling people you can't speak for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and all that, because you get upset with what they have to say, but, you know, just. It's y'all's county, it's our county. All of us together come to a conclusion, come to a better future that we all agree upon. Simple like that.
Mr. Schatz, the floor is yours.
The question is, do we believe change the county government zoning process need to be changed? I do think that there probably could be some changes that would make sense, and some improvements of that. I think anytime you're unwilling to address that issue, I think you're stuck in a situation where you're going backwards. So making some adjustments there. But again, I think that the reality is that this particular issue has come to the forefront over one particular issue. And how this, you know, but there are a lot of things that when it comes to zoning amendments, spot zoning, all of the things that are going on that deal with that particular part of the department, P and Z, and for all of the issues that we end up with at the county are typically problematic issues. And so how do we go about that? How do we address these changes in zonings and that process and how it was? It needs to be looked at, addressed. I don't necessarily know that I have the answers exactly how to fix that at this point in time, but obviously we've seen through this one particular issue how challenged it can be, and so we should be willing to make some changes in order to make the process work.
Mr. Noel?
So I'd like to break down the first line into 2 questions. Do you believe change to county governance? Yes. Let's stop having meetings on a Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. when people work. That's step number 1 to get community involvement in our zoning.
Amen.
And to the zoning processes. Answer B is open the darn master plan and let's have the public testimony. Let's have the people give their input while it is a hot topic. We need to keep people in those seats in that commission chamber. And I don't mean just the elected ones. I mean the ones in front of them. I've been going to these meetings for over 3 years now, and I could say, honestly, I was probably the only non-elected or appointed person in that room in the beginning. Then the data center hit, and the room got full, and it's kind of ebbing and flowing, but we need to keep it full. And number 1 with changing the governance is making that darn meeting a 7 p.m. meeting if it has to be on a Tuesday. The people deserve to show up to their government. And then we could fix the rest of that question just by that alone, in my opinion.
Mr. Crouch, this question will come to you first. As future improvements to Highway 47 move forward, increased traffic from freight trucks and commuters seeking to avoid construction delays is likely to place additional strain on county-maintained gravel and asphalt roads, potentially creating significant maintenance and budget challenges. How do you believe the county commission should plan for and address these impacts?
Well, we need to start by doing it right now, start adjusting our detour routes and things like that, set aside funds to fix them as they come along, but definitely the Highway 47 project's gonna be about like the Highway 100 project, and, might have been too young to remember that, but didn't go too awful bad. There'll still be some flow here. The biggest thing is trying to get 47 here to a point where this isn't choked up for 2 hours a day. That's the biggest hurdle. Second hurdle will be, of course, identifying our alternate routes and having plans put in place to keep them maintained as this project comes to completion, so.
Mr. Schatz, the floor is yours.
Yeah, there's going to be, 2028 is the proposal. Obviously, I was at the CAG meeting yesterday with a number of people on the 47 project and looking at what's being proposed and then how that route's going to change and how these intersections are going to be impacted. Working very closely with MoDOT is important so that we can identify those alternative routes and know where that construction is going to begin, when it's going to start, and how it's going to be phased in order to be able to address that. So we'll have to continue to work in that process as we get closer to that 2028 timeframe. Again, we probably don't know when people are going to find alternative routes. If traffic is backed up, they're going to look for other places to be able to avoid traffic. As long as they're keeping moving, that's what they're ultimately going to do. We will have to take that in consideration as we look at those alternative routes and how it's going to be impacted from that. So it's just going to be an ongoing process that has to be monitored throughout this whole time. Obviously, like I said, we work very closely with the planning engineers at MoDOT in order to understand what that dynamic is going to look like when this project ultimately comes to fruition in 2028.
Mr. Noel?
So I would hope that our county would look at doing the proper traffic and through fair analysis to make sure that they can redirect traffic if they're gonna do this type of improvements to Highway 47. I have concerns because the government up in Washington wants to make Washington the next Central, West End, or Soulard, one of the two. So we're gonna have a lot more traffic issues coming our way if they get their way up there. I don't think a majority of the people, at least I've talked to, are a fan of that. I would also like to see on the budgeting front, I feel like our county is kind of like a subcontractor right now, and I don't think that's fair to the people that pay the tax dollars for those fees. I'd like to see our highway department have their own traffic engineer type individual in-house that can do that type of work and analysis for us. Because now you're at least already paying those tax dollars to that salary. We don't have to pay inflated pricing for outside entities to do all this work for us. We pay taxes to our county to do what? The jobs that we want to need them to do. So why are we constantly outsourcing that work to other entities, charging us more money? I'm just gonna keep keeping it short for y'all. Short and to the point.
Mr. Hillhouse?
Well, I was around when 100 happened, and working closely with MoDOT, if the commission and the highway department worked closely, it worked pretty well. They did a pretty good job. There were times that, yeah, we were backed up. You're gonna be backed up with 47. In my judgment, 47 should already be completed because we've had too many stop, go, hitches here, there, and everything. As a matter of fact, 47, the idea goes about 20-some years back. Pete Braun was the director of MoDOT. He came to my office at the time and was asking about Franklin County and what needs to be done, and we discussed certain roads and all. I said the number one issue that you're going to have to face is 47, the connector. Explain it to me. He said, I did. He said, I'm gonna go drive it. The rest is history. It was started, not during Pete Ron's time, because he didn't last very long, but it was started, I believe, with the next administration from MoDOT. They work pretty well together, and I don't have any problem with hiring our own instead of outsourcing and doing things, but Mr. Noel, you're getting government a little larger. It's growing now. You're hiring more people.
That's not a person show, please.
This will be our last question. Mr. Schatz, you will be answering first. What are your views on elected officials voting on matters where they or individuals closely connected to them may have a financial interest? How should potential conflicts of interest be handled in those situations?
Pretty simple, they recuse themselves. Pretty simple. But there has to be a financial conflict. You can't perceive a financial conflict, there actually has to be one. Again, contrary to what, many may believe, they, in their mind, they create financial conflicts, but they don't exist. And so if there's one there, you recuse yourself. If it's not, you conduct business as usual. So obviously, if there is a conflict, you recuse yourself. That's point blank simple. And if someone has evidence to a conflict, they need to bring that out and provide evidence of that, not just hyperbole. So, clear conflicts, recuse.
Mr. Noel, you have the floor.
Yeah, if you have a financial gain in the decision you're making, recuse yourself. Not voting on it, probably shouldn't even be participating in the meetings, it's that simple. And I'll take this question a step further and talk about the lack of planning and zoning representation. Personally, if I were in that seat, I would have taken the risk of appointing someone that unknowingly may have been for the data center, maybe they're against it, but the representation was deserved by the people for that planning and zoning decision, and the people didn't have that. And that was a direct result of someone having an interest in financial gain by the sale of that property. And so, this is more nebulous than just, does my business have an impact or not? This is, goes far beyond that. And I was disappointed to see that representation was not there. If I have a financial gain, absolutely, I would never vote on something like that. I would not participate in the meetings because that is the correct answer.
Mr. Hillhouse?
And when you recuse yourself, that leaves two people. One to make a motion, the other to second it, and then the vote. And if the vote turns out to be a tie, whoever is presiding, that's the decision on something like that. So we now, when we recuse ourselves, instead of two people making the decision for the county, something like that, one person would make the decision for the county.
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, no, that falls along the lines of insider trading. Honestly, God, it's a different story if you're in a service industry and someone comes in and gives you a whole spiel, and the next thing you know, you look comparative across the board, their pricing's 300% more. Okay, that's a different case. In this case, we're talking about planning and zoning, where we had a appointed planning and zoning member sell his property to an entity for hyperscale development while the county was engaged in an NDA. To tell you the truth, that's frankly just distasteful at the end of the day. Our founding fathers probably shot people for less, to tell you the truth. That ain't a joke, they harm people for less. So yeah, like Mr. Hill said, they had duels over it. Yeah, boy, if you want to fix government really quick, just bring dueling back. But yes, no, absolutely not. Someone with any financial interest or potential financial interest should have the self-fortitude to recluse themselves from the vote. They'd still be in there to hear it out and all this and that, but zero voting interest.
Okay, we will now move to the closing comments. Each of you have 1 minute, and to keep with the rotation, Mr. Noel, you will be first. You have 1 minute.
Sure, thank you. Thank you all for coming out again, listening to us, asking your questions. I really appreciate it. I would like to hang out after this and answer the rest of the questions we didn't get to tonight, and any other questions you have. If they kick us out to the parking lot, I'll be there to talk to you, whether it's raining or not. I do want to take the rest of this time to kind of talk about a couple things I'm thinking about doing unique. I don't think the county's really seen these things before. I want to put a resident-facing financial tracker on the website. I want to put it by department so everybody knows who's spending what and why. I would like to put all the commission orders, purchase orders, things like that, and tie it to all of that so that you can see exactly how the commission departments are trying to spend your money. I want to do the same thing for projects. Why are we under or overrunning, right? I want to come together as a county through regular town halls and get y'all's input on what your wants and needs are so that I can have that right there at a budget meeting and go, what you're asking for is not supporting what the people are wanting and needing.
Mr. Hillhouse?
Again, thank you for holding this. I entered the race because I felt like there's a void at the commission. I'm convinced there is. I believe you need a full-time person, and you're looking at a person that did full-time previously and will continue to do full-time. This old stuff, well, we're available 24/7. Yeah, for emergencies, you're gonna break from your job, and 24/7, I know what happens. 24/7, pretty soon people quit showing up. Just call me, if there's an issue. I continue to hear the term that seems to all politicians use, transparency. I will be transparent. Well, you weren't transparent before. Is that what you're telling me? Transparency just simply means doing the job. I have a record of it. Look at it. I've been open.
Mr. Crouch?
Hey, thanks everyone for taking your evening, coming out here with us today. One thing I can just say within closing is that if I do get elected by some slim miracle, I'm probably the only candidate up here minus ones that are retired and is going to forego anything off to the side, all my works, my businesses, and that I already have it set up and throw it over to other people to run it for a tenure of 4 years. I will absolutely be 100% transparent. I mean, I'm not changing the face from nothing. This is what you see is what you get. I mean, you could ask anyone out there that I've dealt with. I don't change for no one. I believe in fair, freedom, and unified process to everything. Every one of us has a little bit of input that might bring something that someone else is missing to the table. We must have public input. Like I said before, it's your county, our future. Thank you.
Mr. Shaw?
Thank you again for putting this together for folks coming out. Obviously, you've heard us address a few particular issues. I just want to address a couple of things. There are a number of candidates up here at the stage to choose from. And I think there's things that need, each one, you probably have strengths, some weaknesses as well. Mr. Hillhouse has been very critical of the way the commission has worked. I would like to know exactly how he figures he's going to go in and work with 2 other commissioners when he's been critical of those commissioners and how that's going to fare for him as well. I also have concerns how closely related one of the candidates is to one of the sitting commissioners right now. That is
Sean.
that becomes an issue that I think voters should be aware of. And talking about transparency, we probably need to get that out there to make sure that people are aware
Oh, we don't.
that there would be 2 people basically running this county. And how you're going to have Sunday dinner without having a quorum, I don't see how you're going to do that. But with that being said, I still believe I am the most qualified candidate to do this job. Thank you.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I'd like to thank our candidates for coming out and doing I think everyone did a great job. All the candidates were very well spoken. The library's open until 8, so feel free to mingle with the candidates in here as long as you want to ask them additional questions, as one of them mentioned. And the library encourages everyone to go and vote on Tuesday, no matter how you're going to vote. And thank you very much.
I want to ask you some questions.